Good morning. Welcome to Saturday's Early Morning Intuitive Guidance. I'm Dr. Bonnie Nussbaum, here with some words of wisdom to start your day off well. And we have a repeat. So whenever we get a message or a card deck that repeats, I like to perk up my intuitive ears and go, aha, there's something here that's really important. Kind of like I say, when your names roll multiple times, there's more message here for you this particular day. So we'll give it a minute here for people to pop on and get our Saturday off to a good start. It has changed significantly weather-wise. So yesterday was 79, I think. Today we're supposed to hit a high of 50. We had some pretty significant storms go through. I'm looking in my neighbor's driveway and seeing a branch that's probably this big around that separated itself from its tree. So there'd be some cleanup to do. So Carolyn, good morning. You are the first person popping on today. Yay. There ought to be like a little, I don't know, a star or a flower or a heart or something for the first person popping on in the day. So you are it today. Welcome, welcome, welcome. And I see that there we go. There's Barb. Good morning, good morning. And Gwen, good morning. Welcome. Glad you're here. So everybody's starting to roll in, getting our practical rebels all together here. Good morning, Joe Neal. Welcome, welcome. Like I said, we have a repeat card, and whenever we have a repeat card, I want us to be extra aware. And it's interesting, this card, coming on the heels of some of my thought process the last day or two. I think my mind is in preparation for my 4-day sabbatical next weekend, and is giving me grist for the mill in terms of journaling. So there've been lots of things that I've been writing down. Did some work yesterday with my BFF Bobby, and I have lots of BFFs. I'm blessed. I'm so blessed in the friend realm. It is just amazing. But she and I exchange energy work with each other. And one of the reiterations that happened yesterday was what I perceive to be the stuff that's in my way is the way, is the way. So whenever we think there's an obstacle, that obstacle is an integral part of our path. And we need to pay attention to that. So that kind of fits in with where I want to go with today's card. But let's start with a little bit of tapping and a little bit of breath. Good morning, Mel. Welcome, welcome. In through the nose, out through the mouth. Oh, I love that. A blessed and magical morning. That's beautiful. Thank you. Thank you. And I wish the same to you. In through the nose, out through the mouth. And it's going to fit with our card in a lovely way. And it's going to fit with a couple of the things that I want to say. And one of them may be a little more, I don't know, thought-provoking, uncomfortable, whatever you want to say. But it's in the interest of moving us more deeply into this particular call to action. So, in through the nose, out through the mouth. And my little counter did not keep up with you all. In through the nose, out through the mouth. All right. So, we again have the Ascended Masters deck. The Ascended Masters have a lot of feedback for us lately. And these energies are wise beings that we certainly want to listen to. We certainly want to listen to. We have free will, and we can decide whether or not we're going to listen to them or listen to what comes through from the divine. But there's a call to action beyond the call that's in the card itself today that I want to point out, and I think I want to point out, especially for Americans, but for all of humanity, because I think we're moving beyond the point of, oh, can't you take a joke with this kind of stuff? And let's see where it takes us. All right, so our card for today is, again, open your heart to love. Jesus. Open your heart to love. So breathe. And notice the animals around him. We have predators and we have prey, all in one place. And the lamb he's holding, can you see the little butterfly on the lamb's hip? Yeah. So I think that's part of our message. Part of our message. Yeah. Okay. I'm going to read the card first. Then I'm going to pull out a couple of things, share a couple of stories. We'll see where we go. The divine is guiding it. Okay. Open your heart to love, Jesus. Everything you desire and every prayer that you seek comes as a result of opening your heart to both sending and receiving love. Now, is that always easy? Absolutely not. If it were easy, we'd be doing a much better job of it. So, but think of us, practical rebels. Practical rebels. We're going to break free from what is and move toward what might be, right? That's our role. That's what we're here to do. So, sending and receiving love. Sending and receiving love. Okay, feels like we need to take a moment here for that. Rub your hands together. Left hand on your heart, right hand aiming out. So the energy's flowing into you, opening up your heart space, kind of like a lotus. Imagine a lotus just opening up and all that love radiating forth, radiating to you, to others, through others. Love, love, love. Breathe in. Breathe out. Awesome. And you can stay in that position if it feels good, or when it feels complete, move your hands. Your heart is the gateway of receptivity. Again, there's that line I loved the other day. Your heart is the gateway of receptivity. It is the answer to every question you have about your love life, relationships, health, life purpose, and so forth. The more you allow yourself to love, the greater depth and meaning your life holds. So think about that. As human beings, shit happens and we get hurt. If we seal over, if we armor up our hearts, as Brene Brown would say, we not only shut off what we think we're protecting ourselves from, hurt, but we also shut off access to the love. There needs to be the open flow to and through from us, love. So it's an act of great courage to take off all of the armor that we have accumulated over the years. Early on, not so much by choice, but later in life, it became habitual. I get hurt, I shut down. I get hurt, I shut down. I get hurt, I armor up. I get hurt, I armor up. Now's the time to let a bunch of that go. And think about how tender your heart's going to be when you remove that armor that has been encasing it all these years. So we want to take good care of our tender heart. And there's many things that we can do that will assist us in that. And opening our heart to love is one of those ways. One of the things I want to talk about, and I'll finish reading this first, but one of the things I want to talk about is a practice that I think gets in the way of sharing that love and moving things through and being a peaceful, loving people instead of a warlike people. But we'll get there. Okay. The more you allow yourself to love, the greater depth and meaning your life holds. How many people do you know right now who feel like their life has no purpose? Who feel like, why bother? Who cares? What's the point? Some of this might be helpful. Jesus and the other ascended masters will support you in this endeavor, ensuring that you're protected and safe as you open your heart to love. And the cracks in our heart, that was one of the things that I took from the Rebecca Campbell book. Again, the wounds happen, they happen, but those cracks in our heart can make us more accessible. Allow the love in, the love through, right? Additional meanings for the card. To manifest a soulmate relationship, heal any fears about giving or receiving love. Again, taking off the armor. Forgive those who seem to have hurt you. And that's a piece I'm going to hit in a minute. Good morning, Doug. Glad you're here. Welcome, welcome. So our card for today is open your heart to love, and it's Jesus. And again, notice all the predators and prey in one space. All right, so let's keep going here. Be loving for yourself and with yourself. Be loving with yourself. Forgive those who seem to have hurt you. Do energy work to open your heart chakra. In yoga, Bobby always has us put our hands behind our back and interlace our fingers and then drop our shoulders and bring them back. It's a very open, vulnerable position. Practice, practice. Practice leading with your heart. That feels pretty awkward. Very vulnerable. Lead with your heart. So, card again. Jesus' message of love and forgiveness was profound and led to many demonstrations of miraculous healings. Jesus helps anyone who calls upon him, regardless of the person's religious or spiritual beliefs. If they have no beliefs, you can still call on Jesus. And I love Tosha Silver, who was raised Jewish and has a bunch of rabbis in her family. And she says she's got a white-hot, passionate love affair with Jesus. So, call upon Jesus for help with healing yourself and others, emotionally, physically, or mentally. So, some of the things I want to add to this. When I always think it's interesting when I hop onto Facebook in the morning to do this, oftentimes there's a story there front and center that's relevant to what we're going to be talking about for the day. Today was no different. A friend of mine posted that someone who was central in her life had passed away, and that she was so grateful that she had had the opportunity for them to heal the negative stuff that had happened in their relationship. She was encouraging all of us to do the same. So in the card for today, it says, forgive those who seem to have hurt you. And I recall working with a client, and I do a lot of energy work, hypnosis, etc. in my work. And this particular person, we did some hypnosis, and the spirit of her primary abuser came through. He was deceased. He was bathed in golden light, and he apologized to her for what he did seemingly to her. And then they had this beautiful conversation under hypnosis as to what were the gifts that she chose to take from the abuse that he had perpetrated when he was in physical form. That was a masterful healing in her world. Had nothing to do with me, other than I was the technician that helped her open up into that space. That was all their energy, doing the work that needed to be done to create healing. Imagine, I want you to think about, and I'm going to do this two directions. I want you to think about someone who you perceive as having hurt you or being a difficult person in your life. Pick that person out. Let them come to mind. And someone may come to mind. You're like, yeah, I don't want to deal with that one. Give me a different one. No, if that's the one that came first, see if you can allow yourself to do this work with that particular person. First thing I want you to be aware of, breathe into, this person too is a divine child of God. Take a breath. Let it go. This person too is a divine child of God. Now that's not saying they didn't have or don't have some reprehensible behaviors or attitudes, beliefs, whatever. We can be some pretty shitty humans and still be divine children of God. Ain't that interesting how that works? But remember, nothing happens by accident. Nothing happens by accident. So I want you to think about that person who's created difficulty in your life, whether they're still here or not. What did you learn from that? What did you learn from that, and what has come out of that learning? So I'll share one with you. And I've been thinking about this one and wanting to talk about it for a couple of weeks, but I haven't yet because the old conditioning is there around that. The old conditioning being, it's you. You can't take a joke. You're no fun. Blah, 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 blah. And what I'm talking about, and someone just sent one to me yesterday, it's those damn videos of people getting pranked. And they drop things and they fall and they get mad and they throw stuff at the person who perpetrated it, blah, blah, blah. I hate that shit. I absolutely hate that shit. Do not prank me. I may walk away from the friendship if that happens. Here's why. As a trauma survivor, my nervous system is wired for sound anyway, right? The way I describe it to clients when I'm working with them on trauma issues, one of the reasons I have so many clients who have experienced trauma is because I get it. I get it. I'm not the person, I'm not the therapist who's going to say, well, you should be over that by now. You should be done with that. No, 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 no. I say, it's like someone reaches through you, grabs your spine, and does this. You're hyped up, you're in fight or flight all the time, you've got adrenal fatigue because those poor adrenal glands are constantly pumping to keep you safe. And you drop a book behind me, you're going to be peeling me off the ceiling. And I have had the people in my life who've done that. Get over it. That was, 50 years ago. Get over it. Move on. Blah, blah, blah. They don't understand. I remember reading the stories about, and I was, well, maybe teen and tween when the Vietnam veterans came back home. They did not get a happy welcome. And many of them experienced this kind of trauma again in their workplace. So I remember reading the stories about veterans being on the job, especially in mills, working, and coworkers thinking it was funny to scare them. And of course, you get the gigantic startle response. I want to explain something about that. For those of you who don't have a trauma history, it physically, literally hurts when that reaction happens. It's not just a startle response. It is physically painful when that happens. Good morning, Nancy. Glad you're here. And my hope in explaining that to you is that you'll think twice before doing stuff like that. I had one client who had been stalked at work, and including her stalker jumping out from behind stuff at her, breaking into her house and leaving things behind, basically to say, I can get to you anytime, anywhere. And she was in her home one day and one of her kids jumped out to scare her. She threw him across the room. It was a gigantic startle self-defense response. He got hurt. He never did it again. But he didn't understand either what was going on in his mother in terms of trauma. So I want to say, if you're one of those pranksters, don't do that. Please don't do that. And again, we get all the, oh, can't you take a joke? It's just for fun, blah, blah, blah. It isn't fun to the person it happens to. So, yeah, for what it's worth, for what it's worth. So I want to go back to the other half of this. Perhaps you've been, and I'm going to use a really strong word here, folks, you've been the perpetrator of this kind of stuff. Yeah, absolutely, Nancy. You totally get it, right? The nervous system is hyper, very hyper. And it's not like you can control that with your brain. Jonil calls it the amygdala hijack. You're into the reaction and and we do all the things, right? So I do meditation, I do yoga, I do breath work, I do all these things to soothe my system. And they're good and they work. But it's not like you can totally undo the damage that's been done. So my call to action for all of us is be kind. Be kind. Be loving. Don't take the cheap shots. And again, America is so warlike and so, I'm just going to go with that word, warlike. So toxic masculine that this kind of stuff very reactive, needs to be taught. We need education about this stuff. I was just reading, there's so much we need education about. I was just reading about the conviction of Gerard Depardieu, who is a French actor and was prosecuted for sexually assaulting two women who were on movie sets with him. And the judge really didn't do much more than slap his hand, but he did articulate, the judge articulated, I don't think this guy gets it. I don't think he gets it that grabbing a woman's ass is a sexual assault. He was like, not a big deal. What's all the big deal about this? We've trained people to believe that kind of behavior is acceptable. Perfect for you today. Okay. Yes, 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 yes. Okay, yes. So, and we want to make this a two-way street. And the value of making it a two-way street is when we step into the other role, it's going to help us when we're in this role. So, I want you to think about when you, either wittingly or unwittingly, were hurtful to another person. When you lost your temper and you said something that wounded them deeply. When you were a part of a group where some not great shit was going down and you didn't speak up on behalf of the person who it was being directed toward. Pick something where you could make some amends, all right? We've all done it. We've all done it, where we didn't speak up on someone's behalf, or we lost our temper and said something shitty to somebody, and it did more harm than we thought it was going to do. And don't be surprised if it's something like 30 years ago, or I remember in high school when, or whatever. Pick one of those out where you were in the other role, where you were the one who did something or didn't do something and it led to harm to somebody. Take a breath. And I want you to imagine that person in your mind's eye, the person who your actions or lack of actions wounded. See them again. Breathe. And I want you to open your heart to that person. I want all excuses to fall away. And I want you to look deeply in their eyes. Take a breath. And they're just standing there before you. And you're looking deeply in their eyes. And I want you to just say, I'm sorry. No explanations, no excuses, no nothing. They know what you're apologizing for. Just say, I'm sorry. Take a breath. How does that feel? to own whatever it is. And you can ask them, do you need me to articulate what I am sorry for? If yes, then do that. If no, because energetically you're speaking to it's your soul talking to their soul, right? Take a breath. And now I want you to ask them, is there anything you need for me to do to make what amends I can make for what happened? And listen. Listen with your intuitive ears. One more breath. And if the answer was no, wonderful. You can view this as complete. If the answer was yes, and they articulated whatever it is that's needed, are you ready, willing, and able to do that? So they might have said, I need your physical being to literally tell my physical being that you're sorry. Or, I need you to write it in a letter and send it to me. Or, I need you to, I'm going to make one up here, put $100 in an envelope and send it to an organization that deals with treating people who've experienced what I've experienced. Whatever it is. And then you get to decide. You get to decide if you will follow through with that. And know that sometimes it takes some time to do that. So I'm just going to take the one with the money. You might put the money in the envelope. Good morning, Joe Bell. Glad you were here. You might address the envelope. You might put it in the trunk of your car. It might ride around with you for who knows how long. Put a forever stamp on it because it may take a while, right? When it's time, drop it in the mailbox. And you'll know. Sometimes it takes a while to work our way through this. I had an interesting one with that. I had a client who was a nurse, and in working toward forgiveness toward her abuser, she made a full-sized abuser. She was a seamstress, and she went to Vinnie's or somewhere and bought clothing that this person would have worn. And she made this effigy doll, basically. Well, it rode around in her trunk for a long time before she was ready to deal with it. And I always kept thinking, I hope she doesn't get pulled over. It worked out fine, nonetheless. So, now, one of the things I want you to do, having been in that role of I'm the one who caused the harm, how grateful are you for the person you harmed being willing to meet you energetically, to look in your eyes, to offer you grace for your humanity, your slip, your violation of their being? How grateful are you for that? Okay, now I want you to flip the roles back again. So now you're in the position of being the one who's been harmed, and the person who harmed you is standing across from you. Take a breath. Let it go. Take another one. Let it go. And one more. Nice deep breath. And let it go. And I'd like you to meet their eyes. Again, this is your soul being meeting their soul being. It's not you physically meeting their physical being. It's your soul being meeting their soul being. So it's beyond the physical. It's beyond the behaviors that occurred. It's beyond the words that were said. It's that soul part of them, that untarnished part of them, that's meeting your soul. As best you can, I want you to look in their eyes. Look past all of the stuff. Look deeply into their soul. And they are now asking you the same thing that you just asked the person that you hurt. They're saying to you, I am sorry. I am sorry for what happened. I am sorry for my part in it. And now you can say back to them, what is it you need? Do you need them to spell out what they're sorry for? Do you need them to make amends in some way? What would that amends look like? And I want you to imagine that person making those amends in this etheric field, in this auric field, in this energy field. Those amends have been made. Take a breath. And another one. And sometimes when I'm working with a client and they're highly resistant, I've worked with perpetrators often, and they're highly resistant, their physical being can't quite go there. I can do work energetically. If their subconscious mind gives me permission to connect, yeah, it is difficult. It is, but it's so worth it, Mel. It's so worth it. Because this stuff weighs heavy on our hearts. When we carry around the harm that someone else did to us, and we always frame it, when we're in our victim stance, we frame it as harm that was done to us. We haven't yet moved to that place of, and what did I learn from this? From this painful, shitty experience, what did I learn that's useful for me as a human being? One of those things I hope is what's happening right now. That when I was in the role of offering my apologies, I was so grateful for the other person's spirit, soul, being willing to take my apology. That I want to, as the person who's been hurt, offer that to the person who hurt me so deeply. We're clearing energetic crap here. This is beyond just you and whoever you're looking at. This is the healing work that needs to be done right now. This is what's going to prevent more shitty stuff from happening. Think of it as you are looking in the eyes of someone who hurt you and you're granting forgiveness. It cuts the cords that have kept you and that person bound together in trauma. And it frees you. Yes, it frees them to go and do better, but it frees you to not carry all that baggage with you. It's heavy. You've lugged it along this long. Let's put it to rest. Let's put it to rest. Take a breath. Let it go. Take another breath. Let it go. And one more deep cleansing breath. Let it go. And bless that person on their way. If they're still walking the earth plane, if they've already crossed over, blessing that person on their way. And know that you are healing. And I'm going to use an indigenous concept that's so helpful. You are healing 7 generations back and 7 generations forward, clearing all of that energetic field. So again, it's not just between you and that person. It's between your soul and their soul. It's between all of that lineage going back and all of that lineage going forward. Healing, 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 healing. Another nice deep breath. And out. Here's our card for today. Opening your heart to love. Opening your heart to love. And obviously in Jesus's physical world, it didn't go very well at the end, did it? But he forgave. And he was freed then from the physical body that had done its work on earth and moved into a much broader plane. All that is, right? So you can go back and you can watch this again, and you can do this with different people, both forgiving and being forgiven. Glad it was helpful. Awesome, awesome, awesome. So, cutting the cords, yes, absolutely. Stop carrying it around. And if you think about an umbilical cord, what do you do with that? They cut it, but then they tend the site of the wound. So you put alcohol around it. It dries up, it falls off, but you tend to that wound. So you may now have a wound, a healing wound in a way, that you need to tend to. Be kind and gentle with that. Rub the hands together. Maybe that cord felt like it was at your throat. Maybe you send some healing energy to your throat. Maybe that cord felt like it was at your heart. Send some healing energy to your heart. All right? So, rub your hands together. One sending healing energy to you and sending it out to all of us who've done this work. Those of you who showed up today, it's telling me there's 5 of you here. I'm thinking there's more. But all of you have done that healing work today. I'm so proud of you. Have an awesome day. We'll see you again tomorrow. Remember, you're capable of far more than you think you are, including healing yourself and others. Bye-bye.